My name is Anton Janowski. I've got a telecoms manufacturing company in South Africa, and I play around with a lot of RF technologies. Right, let's see if we can get this thing on the road. Okay. Right. Okay, so what is RF noise? Radio frequency noise refers to an unwanted electromagnetic signal that disrupts communication systems and electronic devices operating in the radio frequency spectrum. So we've got known communication systems that works on specific frequencies, and then we've got noise or signals that interfere with that communication, and that could be voice, data, or even video, and depending on what the technology is used for. These noise arise from various sources such as atmospheric disturbances, electrical equipment, electronic components, and human-made interference. Common sources include power lines, motors, ignition systems, electronic devices. Radio frequency noise can degrade the performance of the wireless communication system, including Wi-Fi networks, cellular networks, and radio broadcast, leading to signal degradation, dropped connections, and reduced data throughput. To mitigate these effects, engineers employ techniques such as shielding, filtering, and frequency planning to minimize the impact of radio frequency noise on communication systems. Okay, so now I've got a rough idea. Let's see how we can solve this. Measuring radio frequency noise on the HF band. Bands involve using specialized equipment and techniques tailored to frequency range and characteristics of HF signals. And here's the overview. Antenna setup. Use an HF antenna system to capture the signal in the desired frequency range. This might involve an HF active loop antenna, a vertical antenna, or a directional antenna depending on the specific requirements. Receiver. Utilize an HF receiver with a wide frequency coverage that can capture signals across the HF band. The receiver should have good sensitive and dynamic range to accurately measure both weak and strong signals. The reason why we need that dynamic range is that if we have strong AM powers, strong AM radio stations, and we want to measure the noise levels right next to it, the dynamic range of your receiver should be good. Otherwise, you will get disturbance from the actual powerful AM transmitters. So that's a very important aspect of your receiver. Measurement bandwidth. It obviously would be better if the narrower you can make the recordings of the actual signals so that you can identify different disturbance on different frequencies. If you make it too wide and you have a disturbance within that wide, you're not 100% sure in that wide bandwidth what the actual way, on which frequency that actual noise sits. So the narrower the better, but the opposite of that is also good in that to have very narrow band recordings requires a lot of hardware, a CPU, memory, disk space, and so on. So ideally you need to get the sweet spot from cost effectiveness to measurements, right? What kind of measurements can you do with a cost effective system? So we'll give you some details around that. Field strength meter. Attach a field strength meter to the antenna output of the receiver to measure the strength of the received signal. This can help quality and level of RF noise presence in the environment. So we will do the measurements itself by using digital signal processing and using SDR technology for a receiver to be able to give us that signal strength meter, and that calculation can then accurately be done mathematically on the RF bandwidth of interest. Spectrum analysis, we can do spectrum analysis by sweeping the frequency range, and that will give us a visualized view of noise on a spectrum of a band. Noise floor measurements, so that we want to measure as low signals as possible. So the noise floor of a receiver is basically affected by the atmospheric noise coming in, the disturbance coming in, and then the actual noise that the receiver itself is generating. So the receiver's noise floor needs to be very low to be able to do very sensitive measurements, and hopefully lower than the atmospheric noise levels that's coming into the receiver front end, so we can actually measure everything that we can possibly receive from the antenna. Signal to noise ratio, so obviously that is the calculation of how strong a disturbance signal is in relationship to the background, and the stronger or the bigger the number is between the signal and the noise, the more accurate you could measure the noise level. Location and environment. Consider location and environment where measurements are taken, as factors such as nearby power lines, electronic equipment, atmospheric conditions can influence the level of RF noise. We're following these steps and using appropriate equipment, engineers and radio enthusiasts can effectively measure radio frequency noise on the HF band, enabling them to identify source and interference and optimize communication systems for better performance. Right, so now we know how to measure it. So I'm going to take you through now the way we're doing it with a reasonably cost-effective way, and that would be using SDR technology and reasonably cost-effective Raspberry Pi to record the details. So the RF noise system basically consists of an RTL SDR dongle, which is 8-bit, which was our version 1. But you could upgrade that to maybe an MSI SDR or SDR Play technology, or which is 12 to 14-bit. And depending on the proper filters you could have in front of that, it could even eliminate more and more accurate measurements. So once you've got the signal coming from an active antenna into the SDR, we would record the version 1 of the SDR system was built around a 1 megahertz bandwidth, and then we had 31 meg bandwidth recordings into a database, and then we did an analysis out of the database to identify signals. We also recorded the capability to do hot, what do you call it? There's a name for it, I just can't remember now, but you can basically show fast Fourier transfer view of the spectrum across the whole band over time, and therefore you could see over a 24-hour period where the noise were and how it's moved around, because that gives you the historical conditions around the recording, and it also gives you the capability to see if certain noise appear or disappear at certain times, because now you can compare different days or different weeks or different months' spectrum views around the signals that we're recording. We've basically standardized on the active loop antenna, and the reason for that is it's reasonably sensitive for the HF band, reasonably small. We don't need big antennas to be deployed, and that will make a deployment reasonably cost effective, and then all you need is an internet connectivity, because what the SDR equipment do, it will record the data locally, build a local spectrum view, and that was all saved on the SD card. And then that SD card will have the recordings for the day, and at night it will upload all that data to a master server. Now, the SD cards are available for download, and we've got the two versions for the Raspberry Pi 3 with an RTL SDR dongle, and then the version 2, which will be a Raspberry Pi 4 or 5 using the MSI or SDR Play chipset for recording. So the two SD card files are available. You can download it and then build up your own station. As you can see on the right hand side here, I've showed you some views of the actual recordings, 1 meg recordings, and there's 30 of them, and they get real-time recorded. And that view is what you can access on the local Raspberry Pi through a web browser, and you can look at your station noise recordings. And then the picture at the top here, this one here where I've got my cursor, this is what the master server will have, and it will actually show signals from different stations, and then you can compare if a signal is local or it is over the whole country, depending on where the stations are. If it only appears on the one station, then you know it's a local. If it appears to all 3 stations, it's probably atmospheric or something else. But that at least gives us a rough estimate of area of where the noise would be. The system will push all the data to the master server, and then the master server, we can extract all the data for analysis. Okay, so this is sort of another view. This is the hotspot view that you can see over time. So this is a recording from 0 to 7 megahertz. I've cut off the other half of it, but basically it will show you over time where there was signals and what is noise. So these bands here is obviously noise. This is actual, probably legitimate signals, these ones I'm showing here. So those ones you'll ignore, and you will be more interested in what is generating all this other noise, for instance, in your area. The Raspberry Pi system basically needs a Wi-Fi internet connectivity or Ethernet connectivity. If you're having it in a spot where there's already internet connectivity, if you don't have an area where you want to install this and you don't have internet, we can add an 4G GSM dongle to the Raspberry Pi, and it will connect to the internet and send the data at night. That's basically the setup. And then the master RF noise monitoring server is basically this configuration on the left hand side. You register your station, you register calibration data, and I'll explain to you how the calibration data will work. But basically what will happen is in the master server, you will show the stations on a map like you can see at the bottom, and then we will show the activity of the station. Is it active? Is it not active? Has it stopped working? And so on and so on. Therefore, you can monitor your own station by looking at the master server, and you can see which stations in the world is active and working at this stage. The master server will allow different SDR receivers to use to make backwards compatible, but would recommend to only use 12-bit SDRs going forward. So if you already got a station and it's 8-bit, keep on using it. But we recommend all new stations to be 12-bit. And what we do there is we would recalculate 8 bits to 12-bit with reduced resolution, but at least we can do comparative noise monitoring statistics by recalculating the 8 bits to 12 bits and by adding a calibration factor. So where does the calibration factor comes into play? So what we do is we've got a script which will allow you to run on your Raspberry Pi by clicking on a calibrate noise floor. And what you need to do before you actually do that is you connect a 50 ohm dummy load to the SDR front end, and then you will do a recording of the flatness of your SDR receiver, and that calibrated data is then being used so that we know that that is the minimum noise floor that you can use, and then we can actually see what kind of measurements would be possible from your specific station. We can also then do calibration on an antenna by terminating the antenna wires with a short, and then doing the measurements again into the SDR and using the antenna calibration data for the whole band. So that's two ways of calibrating your station's antenna and noise flow of your SDR receiver, and that could help with the actual measurements. If we want to do measurements between different stations and the one station is using a different RTL dongle, we can use the calibration data to sort of get us at the same level from a different station point of view, apply the calibration data to the actual measured raw data to give us comparative data. So on the right-hand side here at the bottom, you can see two stations, and what's interesting in this specific scenario, as you can see here, in some cases we've got the same noise at in both stations, like I've shown you in the cursor here and here. So that means that is a noise that is basically a wide area. I think this one station was in Pretoria and the other one was in Johannesburg. So it means it's a noise that's quite large across the two that covers both areas, and you can see the one in Pretoria was definitely stronger than the one, I think it's Pretoria is the red one, and then the other one is less. So it will tell you that basically the noise is coming from that area rather than this, but it's so big that it affects both areas. And then in this case here, you can see there was another noise burst here, which is local, and it's only for this area, for instance. So by looking at the master server, we can do comparative noise levels, and that will give us an indication if it's a global problem or a local problem. In the master server, we have the capability to download the raw data without calibration or a calibration factor to it, so that you can apply your own calibration if need be. And what it allows you to do is you can select the start and end date and then the station of interest. And then if you say display 150, it will just show it underneath here, so you can just quickly have a view of the data. Okay, it looks fine. I actually want to export it, and then you click export, and it will download the whole file for you. So then you can get all the data for that period that you have selected. So this is the view of the statuses of your station. If it's red, it means your station is not actively sending data. We call it stale. And then if it's active and it works fine, then it's black, and it shows you that it's actually sending data to the master server. So data only appear on the master server the next day. So if you have active data for today, it will probably only start appearing on the master server the next day at about 1 o'clock in the morning. So if you want to start doing comparative data analysis, you can actually only do it the next day. We will look at in the future possibly to make it update on a more regular basis, maybe hourly or so. The remote stations, this is a software that runs on your Raspberry Pi. How does it actually work? It has got the SDR software, is Greenblock dongle itself, and then that gets, we're using the RTL power utility to do the RF power measurements at the selected bandwidth, the old system 1 meg, the new one, I think it's 100 kilohertz. In that case, the old one, we had 31 meg files that gets generated. And then these, there's actually two sets of files. The one is the files that gets used for the actual bandwidth comparison, and the other one is to do the heat map view, which was that green view that I showed you. So the two files get generated independently, and then the data gets loaded into a local database from the CSV files that was recorded into an RRD database. The RRD database then generates these graphs that you've seen that I've showed previously, and then that graph gets exposed through a web interface, and then that displays the graphs on the screen if you access it through a web browser, and the other files then gets uploaded at about midnight to the master server. And then that's where we've got the master server offering the data for comparison. So the master server basically operates as follows. The remote stations uploads the data run about midnight, and then the new remote station has a registration process. So if you've got a new station, you've set it up, you will go to the master server and register your station. It will send you a secret key. That secret key is a key that you need to enter in your local noise monitoring station, and then that key gets sent to the master server to identify your station so that nobody else can send data to the master server, but only yours with that secret key. So that's this part here. And then the files that come in gets loaded in the MySQL database. And then that MySQL database then offers the data in a graphical format or an export format for you to download and do comparison. In some cases, and specifically here, the RTL SDR dongle has got image rejection. So if you've got very strong signals above and below 12 megahertz, you will see it in opposite the 12 megahertz line doubled up. And that is because the front-end filters of the RTL dongle do not have proper rejection filtering. So what we've done is we've designed a filter which you can plug on top of the Raspberry Pi. You can then connect the antenna through the filter board into RTL SDR dongle, and the actual software will switch. If the frequency of measurement is above 12 meg, it will switch the high pass filter, and if it's the other direction, it will switch to the low pass filter. And this is a way to reduce the image rejection. But if you do not have this, it's not a total loss. You can quickly see if you see the same pattern above 12 meg and below 12 meg, and then you can ignore that data. At least we're recording some kind of data. These boards are available for purchase, and then you can use them to make your recordings even more accurate. This is just a block diagram of what this little board does. It's got a active antenna, power supply, injector, and then it's got a high pass and low pass filter, and then you connect that to the SDR receiver, and that's basically what the board is doing. This is a little picture of the board, not assembled, but yeah, it's reasonably straightforward. You can see the low pass and high pass filters here. This is a little RF switch which switches both at the same time, so it either switches this one or this filter in a circuit, and then there's a little circuit here for power injection, and it will give power to the active antenna for you. This is the characteristics, simulated characteristics of the high pass and low pass filter. So to just give you a view of what it is doing. This is how you register your station on the master server. You will put your call sign in, you will put a URL in. Normally, in some cases, most people would expose their local Raspberry Pi web interface to the internet, so people can then click on that link on the master server and actually go and look at your specific data on your Raspberry Pi. That's the URL you would put into this section here. And station email address, that's your email address, your SMS, that's your mobile number. It's not something that we use, but it's just something to be able to send us the secret key to you. And if in the future we might offer the facility to let you know that your station has gone stale, so you'll get a WhatsApp message then on that mobile number to tell you that your station is not active at the moment, so you can maybe solve the issue. This is just a small description of your station, where it is and what kind of antenna and what you're using. And then this is station location. This is what we use to put your little icon on the map on the master server. And then the physical address is not something that we share, but at least we know where your station are. If we need to do comparative a comparative data analysis, we know exactly where it is, and it will give us, if we have a specific noise in that area, we at least know where it is. And then, yeah, the rest is straightforward. This is the URLs that you can, where you can get the images to build your own noise monitoring system. So it's www.giga.co.za/RF noise, and then you'll get the two links. I recommend the 64-bit gigabyte SD cards or bigger. Because we actually do store, in some cases where your internet connection would go down for maybe a day or two, we actually do store a lot of data on the SD card, and when it gets back up onto the internet, it will start sending all that data again and then clear the SD card for you. Okay, and that's it from me. Unfortunately, I can't take questions as I am away for a little bit of holiday, but hopefully we will see your new system appearing on the master server, helping us to identify where the noise hotspots is in South Africa. Thank you.